Another episode here of Getting There with Goss, where we talk about the career journeys of upstate New York athletes, media members, coaches, and more. I'm excited for this one because we've got a mix here with a little Central New York connection. Former football player, now professional wrestler, Moose joins us. And if you're a fan of Capital Region Pro Wrestling, don't forget October 30th in Troy, New York, Immortal Championship Wrestling. For more information how you can be a part of that show in Troy on October 30th, check them out on Facebook, facebook.com/Immortal Championship Wrestling, or to buy your tickets now, immortalwrestling.com. Moose, let's start at the beginning, my friend. Take us back to a young Moose, 6, 7, 8 years old. Where'd you grow up? What'd you want to be as a kid? And was it that same dream job when you were 18 years old?
I grew up in Washington, D.C. I'm a DMV guy. Grew up a huge wrestling fan and always wanted to be a professional wrestler.
And then sure enough, man, it happens. You become a professional wrestler, but before you become a pro wrestler, you stand out a little bit on the football field, and especially your high school. DeMatha High School, like this is a proud tradition, Rich. You run through pro athletes in football and baseball and basketball. You go to one of the powerhouse high schools in the country. You get the recruiting process. Take us through that, and why did you eventually choose Syracuse to play college football?
I had a coach that was with me in DeMatha High School, and he was a big mentor for me and at that age, and he went to Syracuse, and I wanted to be just like him. So it was a really easy choice. I had a lot of schools recruit me, but I wanted to be just like Bryce Bevel, so it was an easy choice picking Syracuse University.
And when you get to play for the Orange, it's an interesting part in the history of that Syracuse football program, because if my timeline's correct, you get Coach Paul Pasqualoni and you get Greg Robinson. So kind of take this through. How did that, if at all, affect your career when you play for two different head coaches?
It really didn't affect me too much because I already knew what football was all about. So all I know, obviously, you go in having different schemes, but I was my name was already out there after my junior year before Greg Robinson came in. So in my mind, I felt like all I had to do was just play with the same intensity that I did the year before, and I should be okay. And that's what I did.
I feel like especially for you, and I remember this as a Central New York kid playing football. I remember going to the Syracuse football camps, and you're just a few years older than me, and I'm in high school, you're at college. I remember they called you Q back then, if I'm not mistaken. They're like, wait till you see what Q looks like post this offseason. Was that when you really started hitting the weights and kind of seeing your body develop to like, look what I can do when I put this time and effort into the gym at the D1 level?
Really wasn't that much developmental. I mean, I just ate a lot. Because my senior year in high school, I was like, if I'm not mistaken, I was like 265. And when I got to Syracuse, they told me I had to beef up a bit. So I gained 30 pounds pretty quick. So it wasn't too much of the lifting weights. And I mean, that has a little bit to do with it. It was more just my eating habits.
Well, you're able to put on the weight. You're able to excel in football at Syracuse, so much so you are drafted in the NFL and you carve yourself a nice NFL career. You mentioned you wanted to be a professional wrestler when you were a kid. Did you even have these dreams of being an NFL player?
Not really. Playing in NFL wasn't something that was huge for me. I was more of a pro wrestling guy, but the NFL was just something luckily I was good at and just I struck gold with.
It's amazing to think about that. So many people would wish for the NFL, but your eyes were always on professional wrestling. So as much as I'd like to dive into the NFL, I want to get into the professional wrestling talk now. Let's do it. When was the first time you actually stepped foot in a ring, and what was that first experience like for you?
October of 2013. It was a small indie show in Georgia where I was living at. And honestly, it wasn't that nerve-wracking because at the school I trained at, we would have like weekly free shows to whoever that was in the area, and we would have like 30, 40 local guys come to watch a free show. And the first show I ever did only had like 12 people in there, so it wasn't really. I wasn't nervous at all because I was in my mind. I was like, man, the free show we do draws more than this paid show that I'm doing right now.
How would you describe your abilities in the ring? Were you very green to start?
Oh, I mean, everybody's always very green. everybody's first match sucks and isn't as good as you think it is. So, and that's exactly what my match was.
There have been so many people that talked about training when you try to become a professional wrestler that some of you have compared the training to get to the ring as hard or harder than professional or college workouts. Was that like it for you when you started training for the first time? Were those workouts as difficult as what you were doing on the football field?
Pretty much the same stuff. I mean, I even to this day, I kind of keep up with the same training with what I've been doing my whole playing days. So it's pretty much the same thing. It's different sport, same exact training regimen.
All right, so we know that early on in your career, a little bit green, just like most professional wrestlers. Is there a moment? Is there a match? Is there a mentor? Is there something that starts to change for you where you think, okay, I'm new at this, I'm fresh at this, but now I know I'm good at this? Was there a moment, match, something that happened that started to click in your career?
I would probably say my feud with Eddie Edwards is when I started like looking at professional wrestling a little bit differently, and where I was like, you know what? I'm not. I get this whole wrestling thing. I'm actually pretty good at this. So yeah, that's what I would say it was for me.
So you have the feud with Eddie Edwards, and then your career continues to go up, and more people are starting to take notice of what's happening. Was there something along this line? Maybe again, somebody like, okay, let's put it like this. Was there a reaction from the crowd? What you're hoping to get? Are you a heel or a baby face at this point? Are you kind of getting to draw the reaction of the crowd you're hoping for at this point early in your career too?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, the school that I trained at, I pretty much trained like how I was gonna debut. So it was the same character, the same music, everything. And I remember wrestling in front of those 30, 40 fans. Every time I would come out, they would do the moose chant, especially when I did the train signal or whatever, the train horn signals. And so I figured I was going to kind of get the same reaction. And in my mind, I was like, if I don't get a reaction, I'll just keep doing it. At some point, people will catch on to it. And that's what I did.
Your time in Ring of Honor, especially, what was that experience like? Was it fun? Was it stressful? Was it nervous? I know every time might have felt different, but with that Ring of Honor, those years 2014 to 2016 had to have been something that you look around and thought, okay, this is where this train is picking up, and I'm doing what I've always wanted to do for my life.
Pretty much, yeah. My Ring of Honor experience was great. It was definitely great, and without Ring of Honor, I definitely wouldn't be where I am at today. And I got to wrestle a lot of guys some people consider to be some of the best wrestlers in the world. And yeah.
You mentioned that Eddie Edwards feud. We've got this mix in your career now between TNA and Impact, and you're going back and forth and having all these great feuds and everything that's happening through this. It feels like in this point of your career too, you're getting to work with so many, not just different people, but different styles. Do you feel yourself working with these different styles, saying, okay, I want to work with this guy, I want to work with that guy? Was it a challenge for yourself to continue to push yourself to work with these different guys in the ring?
It's one of those things that when you get in the ring with somebody that has a huge name, like Jay Lethal or Jay Briscoe or AJ Styles, it makes you want to bring your A game. It makes you want to bring your A game, and that's exactly what I was forced to do. You know what I'm saying? And I had some of some of my greatest memories and my best matches, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, and growing up as a wrestling fan too, at this point of your career, you're probably going to have these moments where you're running into people you watched on TV. And I think at this point, we're talking Rob Van Dam and Sabu and Tommy Dreamer. So some of these guys you've watched on TV, now you're in the ring with them or working with them. What were those experiences like?
It's very great. I mean, I remember my first time stepping in the ring or being told I was gonna have an angle with Rob Van Dam, and I was like, I used to watch Rob Van Dam. I used to be a big mark for Rob Van Dam, and now I'm in an angle, and I'm gonna be one of the main events of the pay-per-view wrestling him. So yeah, that was definitely awesome.
The self-proclaimed TNA championship early in 2020. What was going on in your career at that point where you were claiming to be the champion?
It was actually, I mean, that was fun times. I remember that was presented to me by management. And as soon as they said it, I loved the idea because it brought me back to Ric Flair when I remember when he came into WWE maybe the first time and he had the WCW title and he was claiming he was the WCW champion and everybody, or the NWA champion, whatever it was called. And everybody was like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, no, you're not. Like, I felt like I could make it better and or maybe not even make it better, but put my own spin to it to make it more me. And it took off. I mean, I feel like that angle helped with where I'm at today, especially with social media. A lot of fans loved it and a lot of fans put it over, even though I was a heel and I am a heel. A lot of the fans out there loved it.
What about this past summer? You battling Kenny Omega, that experience, the face of AEW versus Moose.
Kenny Omega is awesome, man. And that was definitely a dream match that I wanted to have. And I mean, we killed it. And I hopefully in the future, we could definitely do it again. I would love to have another feud / match with him. He's definitely, as advertised, one of the best wrestlers in the world.
That sounds like a little bit of a tease. We might see Moose on AEW soon?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to throw any spoilers, but we'll see, yeah.
All right, that's good enough for us. What can fans expect October 30th in Troy when they come out and see Moose?
You see one of the best wrestlers in the world, and for sure the best big man in professional wrestling. And plus, you get to see Moose come back, technically home.
Love it, man. Upstate New York, we appreciate it, Moose. Thank you so much for the time, man. Looking forward to the show on October 30th.
All right, same here.